it is important that we invite our spouse into every part of our life, including our job. And Matt and I do run in totally different lanes. So you said earlier, like, you don't really see us mingling much, at lunch, or there may be one or two meetings a week that we may both be in. But we're in different lanes. And so when we go home in the evenings and I talk about my day, it's news to him. So what I'm dealing with is totally different than what he's dealing with. And so we're able to talk about our day and it be news to each other. And I think that there is value in me inviting him in to part of my day or part of my world, and him inviting me into part of his world.
Matt and Jennifer, it's not like I haven't seen you. I just saw you yesterday in the office, but here we are using technology to look at each other again. For those that don't know, for our listening audience, Matt Martin and Jennifer Martin, yes, they are related. They are married. They're on the same leadership team at a large church in San Antonio, Texas. And first of all, I just like these two. I like them. And that means sometimes more than the typical saying, I love them. I mean, I obviously love them as human beings, as people of the faith, but I really like them. And they are two completely different leaders, yet they both serve with excellence in what is called second chair leadership. We'll come back to that again. But you guys were even part of starting this church called NorthRock from the very beginning. Fill us in a little bit, would you, about what you do and how this all happened and what I said right, what I said wrong? You go for it. Whoever. Start. Just go.
Yeah, well, Jim, thanks for having us on the podcast, and excited about where the conversation goes today. And yeah, Jennifer and I, we've been married for 26 years now, so we've been hanging out together for a little bit. And but we were part of starting NorthRock Church here in San Antonio with Pastor Jonathan and Alicia Moore. And from day one, actually before day one, we've been a part of this journey. We launched back in 2009, didn't have a clue what we were doing. Did it. I mean, we can tell you all the ways to do it wrong. And we kept figuring it out along the way. And something that, I know we'll talk more about this, but something that was unique to Jennifer and I was this, what we call second chair leadership. And I think that's been part of a little bit of the secret sauce here over the years, not always getting it right, didn't know what we were doing, but willing to try it and learn and figure out along the way. And watch all the amazing things that's happened. We started the church in basically a living room. There were 11 of us that said, hey, let's go to San Antonio and start a church. We don't know anybody, so that's a great opportunity to go build something big. And we got started, launched in an elementary school, moved to a high school, and then for about 9 years now, we've been in a permanent facility that we now broadcast out of to 2 other campuses in the city. And so it's been a fun with a fourth campus on the way. So it's been a fun journey to be a part of this. And it's honestly been some of the best years of my life, being able to be in this seat for what has been happening here in San Antonio has been amazing for me. So
that's great. What would you add to that, Jen?
Well, first of all, Jim, thank you so much for having Matt and I on today. And I know you know this, but I'm going to say it for everybody who's listening. You've been so influential in my life the last couple of years. And I give you credit for that. I am a better leader because of you and your voice in my life. And so thank you for letting me spend a little more time with you today. I'm sure I'm going to learn even more from you after today. What would I add to that? I would add to that we had no idea what we were getting into. I don't know if Matt said that. I was listening, but I don't remember him saying that. I would say that it has been the best years of our life, and part of the reason is because we were completely sold out to being good second chair leaders. We knew what we were coming into it. And so we've been able to completely run openly in that lane. And I will add that watching our boys in this journey has been so amazing because they have got to be a part of something from the ground up, something that their parents believe in and are sold out to. And so they have it's been a great picture for them. And now getting to see them figure out what that looks like and means for them is huge. So I don't know if I filled in all the gaps, but I talked.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun just learning about the history of the work and how you started and how you persevered and the things that you've been through and what's been accomplished today. And a lot of people who are familiar with NorthRock obviously look at it and smile and say, no, there's a good work. They're doing something good for the man upstairs, some would say, and others would say the Lord and different things like that. So let's break the ice. I bet you that there are many who are going to be listening to this podcast that this might be the first time they've even heard the term second chair leadership. In your guys' opinion, what is that and how is that differentiated from just the general topic nowadays of leadership? How would you answer that?
Matt, you want me to go first?
Yes.
Ladies first?
Ladies first.
Okay. I would say Matt and I this past year have had the privilege of being part of an organization called Leading Second. And I love the way that they describe leading second. And so I didn't feel like I could improve on it. So I'm just going to read their definition. And it says, I am a leader serving a vision bigger than myself. I champion the uncommon realm of honor where my leader's vision is my vision. I own it. And I love that definition because in second chair leadership, first of all, there doesn't need to be this stepping stone idea where it doesn't need to be a placeholder to get to the first chair. And I know in the corporate world, there is like a bit of a ladder that you're climbing and you need to be in one before you can get to the other. But I think that there is value and benefit from going all in. If I am in the second chair, then I'm going to be the best second chair that I can be. And to do that, I have to believe in my leader and the vision of my leader. And it's not one or the other. It's both and at the same time, always. And to be the best second chair leader, you have to believe completely in your first chair. And you have to completely believe in the vision and mission of the organization, both and. I was thinking about football, which is kind of funny because I'm not a huge football fan, but I had two boys, so I've watched a lot of football. And when you're looking at a football field, there's one quarterback, but there are multiple people who can run the ball, and there are receivers and there are running backs, and there are more opportunities for second chair, but there's only a handful of first chair, which tells me that there are more people who are uniquely designed and qualified to sit in the second chair. And many of those are sometimes trying to get to the first chair when they were actually gifted to be sitting in the second chair. And I think it takes a really strong, confident person to be able to say, I know how I'm wired and gifted to be able to sit in this chair and serve a vision that's bigger than me and to serve another leader and to do it well. So I hope that made sense. Matt, you can clean that up if it didn't.
Yeah, I think one of the things to set up from the beginning about a second chair leader is that second chair is not second class. And there's a lot of times, we go to, we don't need to, but in leadership, or even in just some of the tweets or the Instagram blurbs, if you would, we get the Ricky Bobby mentality. If you're not first, you're last, and that's just not true. And so, to me, a second chair leader lives on purpose to see someone else's vision fulfilled. They live on purpose to see someone else's vision fulfilled. And a true second chair leadership, it starts with alignment, like Jennifer said, and a willingness to serve something and someone bigger than yourself. I think in our own journey for Jennifer and I, and I know for me, we have our lane. My lane has been clear from the beginning here, even in this journey with starting the church and doing what we do, and now in part of organizations training other second chair leaders. But I had to get my clear design, get clear on my design. This is who I am. I dug out my purpose. And when I dug that out, man, that whole idea of first chair, or CEO or lead, whatever, all of that just kind of disappears, because now I'm running so hard and so fast in the lane that I'm purposed for, that it don't even cross my mind hardly to think, boy, if I can just get to the top. Now,
Right.
That goes back a little bit to what Jennifer was talking about. It is that calling. It is that understanding of who you are. There are people that are designed to lead, but hey, she didn't say this a while ago when she talked about the quarterback and running backs. Running backs and receivers get the ball across the goal line many, many, many more times than the actual quarterback gets the ball across the goal line.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's so much opportunity for second chair, for people to get the play finished out, if you would. And so if you're in that first chair, if you're that C level, then you're designed that, live that out. But don't try to be something you're not, because there's so much fulfillment in living out your purpose of doing that. And so I think for me, this is what second chair leadership has looked like for me over the last decade, probably longer. Every day I wake up with two questions that I either on my drive in or just kind of in my quiet time in the morning that I work through. And it's this right here. Number one is, what can I do today that will make our organization better? What's something I'm working on today? I'm looking at my calendar, looking through my day, what I'm going to be working on.
Sounds like today counts.
There you go. Today counts. Exactly. And my second question is this, and I'll use it in our context of our senior leader, but what can I do today that will make Pastor Jonathan's job easier? What can I do today that will make his job easier? Not that I'm going to go do anything for him. I mean, all of us here on this podcast know how independent and strong, he can get it done by himself. But what can I do in the organization that will make his job? And that goes, it doesn't matter, faith-based, nonprofit, for-profit. If you live with that idea, you're going to make where you work better, where you lead better, and you're going to make your leader better, which ultimately makes you better. So.
Yeah, that's rich, both of you. I just want to do a recap here. Jennifer was kind of describing the attributes, as I would understand them, of a strong second chair leader, with supporting someone who believes in the leader that they're supporting, also the vision of that leader, not one or the other, but both. Mm-hmm. Also, not in these exact words, but she's you said, Jen, that a lot of it has to do also with your sense of awareness and a sense of your calling, your confidence. Frankly, some maturity. I would also throw in there, and I love those two questions, Matt, that you threw out under the umbrella, of purpose, because mm-hmm. in my life, I've learned that purpose transcends context, and if I live for my purpose, I could almost do anything, practically speaking, anywhere, if I understand, my purpose. And for me, my purpose in life has always been about shaping leaders. It's always been about that. And if there's nobody else to shape around me, I can work on myself, right? And so there's always somebody to work on. And what I want to come back to, and I love these two things, what can I do today to make the organization better? How do I make this day count? And how do I make my boss's job easier? I want to interject this. So in my lifetime, I've mostly been in the first chair, but when I've been in the second chair, and what's funny in life, I kind of play musical chairs in first chair, second chair, and sometimes I have to remember which chair I'm sitting in so that I can
Right.
serve appropriately. Now, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to keep this straight, but but I will say this. Here's what the first chair has done for me. The first chair has helped me be a better second chair because I know firsthand what it feels like to be in the first chair. And there's so much insecurity that rushes at that first chair with the unsaid. You've got to know everything. You got to know where we're going, how we're going to do it, and you got to be able to love everybody. You got to solve every problem, and it's just beyond you. And I think the other thing that I would say, and I know I said this to both of you guys some time ago, but when you've been in the first chair as long as I have, you can spot a strong second chair leader. And you know that I said this, at least in my life and in my experience and in my ministry and in my work, some of the best leaders, going back to what you said, Matt, when you, how did you say it? It's not second class.
Yeah.
Some of the best leaders I have ever met in my life are second chair leaders. They're often not written about because they're just busy doing what they do. Well, let me ask you guys this. So you're both in second chairs at your organization at NorthRock, yet you're not just both in different lanes. You're also different leaders. I mean, you're really different. How do you reconcile leadership style with being in the second chair? What are the nuances? Talk to me a little bit about that.
I'm tickled at how you just kept saying really different. I don't know how to take that.
Well, you're mature and confident, so.
And by mature, you mean old.
You know what? Before you explain that, Jen, one thing I thought about today, and I don't know why I thought about it, but I was out in the back getting some vitamin D, and a thought came through my mind, and I don't know why. I don't know who I was talking to. I don't remember, but the thought came to me that another sign of a good leader, first or second chair, is they can take a punch. And I don't know why that thought crossed my mind. Now, obviously, what you're implying that I was implying, I have no idea. But let's talk about the nuances of differences in our styles, yet can still be very effective at our role as second chairs.
Yes. So Matt and I are very, very, very different in how we lead. And I think that that's why this works. I know you may want to talk a little bit later about being married and how we make it work. And I think one of the reasons is because we are so different. Just a practical example of a way we're different. Matt, hold up your notes for this. Okay.
So Matt is holding up a piece of paper with what looks like his attempt of cursive writing with some printing. Chicken scratch. Jennifer is holding up a typed piece of paper, very left justified, certain areas highlighted,
bolded, italic.
Yes.
I mean, this could not be a more perfect example of how different we are. And we bring those into our leadership. I am pretty direct. I'm very quick. Pastor Jonathan, our leader here at NorthRock, has told me before, I have to be very careful when talking to you, because I can think we're having a conversation and you're already implementing something. And so I have had to learn to ask, do you want to do this, or is this a conversation? But I will say, while we lead very differently, when it comes to leadership and those we are leading, the way that the leader leads doesn't matter as much as long as the leader cares, truly cares about those that they are leading. And I've heard it said, it may have been John Maxwell, I don't know, but everybody has two needs. They want to be needed and known. And as a leader, whether I'm leading my team or Matt's leading his team, and we're both leading very different, we have to take care of those we're leading. Our style doesn't matter. What matters is how we're caring for those that we lead. Before I came on full time here at NorthRock, we were part of the organization, but the organization wasn't big enough to employ both of us. So I worked for my family business, my mom, and we ran a flooring company. And she used to say, treat the customer the way the customer wants to be treated. You treat them the way they want to be treated, not the way you would want to be treated. You treat them the way that they expect to be treated. And I think when leading people, it's not so much how I lead as much as how do those I'm leading need to be cared for. And I have to know how they want to be cared for. That's how I have to lead them, care for them, how they need to be cared for. And it's not a one size fits all. How one of my team members needs to be cared for is totally different than the way another one wants to be cared for. I know with one of them, I need to start my email with, hey, how's your day going? I hope everything went well yesterday with that meeting. With another one, I know I can go straight to it. Hey, did you send that email about such and such and such and such? How do they want to be treated? And so while we're both second tier leaders, Matt and I are both very, very, very different. At the end of the day, we both have to care equally for those that we're leading the same way. Matt, I've talked a lot, so I'm just going to
That's so funny though, Jen.
Time.
That's so funny. If you came into my office and you started asking me about how my day was and everything else, I really want to have the courage to stop you and just say, what are you here for? Tell me what you need, bottom line.
Yes. Not everybody's like that, though.
That's true. And I learned that the hard way. I even when I walk around the NorthRock office, I literally go and I go, okay, he's a ESFJ, she's an ISTJ, TJ, he's a ENTJ, and I go through all those things to try. But your temperament is so strong, it's like a V8 engine, just trying to bust out of your chest, no matter how much education that you have, because that's who we are. That's how God made us.
Right.
But as we mature, to your point, we learn to be more adaptable and helpful to people. Well, Matt, what say you?
At the end of the day, we both want what's best for our team member and for the organization. And so, yeah, it's learning how to lead. And we're totally different. The running joke around here is, and they asked this one day, and they said, who would you rather fire you? Jennifer or Matt? And it was unanimous. And so I'm thinking, I'm the nice guy. I'm relational. I'm funny. I'm the hugger. And they all, everyone across the board, everyone said, oh, Miss Jen, absolutely. I'm like, what? Like, she's going to be so rude and mean and tough. And I'm going to be like, I'm going to let you down easy, all of this. And they said, oh, no. One of them speaks up and says, if we go to Miss Jen's office, 7, 8, 9 minutes max, we're going to know we were not, getting the job done. We're being let go. She's opening up other opportunities for us for further employment somewhere else. And we're gonna pack our stuff. She's gonna walk us to the car and tell us thank you for serving this organization. We wish you the best.
Whereas someone walks out of your office an hour later and says, well, "Wait a second. So am I
still have a job?
Am I employed or am I fired?"
I think I just got a raise.
I got promoted. I think Pastor Matt promoted me.
I could pick whatever job I want, apparently.
Yeah. But what's funny is, it really doesn't play out like that. But it just from such different styles, but it's a lot of fun. It works, and we've had to learn. And here's the advantage to us. And I think we'll discuss this a little more in a moment. But with us being so different, we're able to talk to each other. So I lead some team members better because I learned from Jennifer. I say, what did you do that worked? How did you get through to them? And there's we've had it happen recently. She's like, hey, come read this email. I'm not sure I'm saying this correctly. I read it. I'm like, oh dear God, yes, you just poked their eyes out.
Oh dear God.
Let's tone that down a little bit.
Get the fire hose out.
Yeah,
It wasn't that bad. It was not
No,
that bad.
It wasn't that bad. But there's times I'm not, where my weaknesses are. She steps in and says, "Hey, you're going to be able to lead this person better if you think about it this way." And so that is the advantages to our stark differences in the contrast and how we're built.
But yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jim. I would just add to that real quick and say we have learned to lean on each other because where I'm weak, he's strong. And where he's weak, I'm strong. And much. So we have very much learned to ask each other, each other's opinions on things and thoughts on things and give each other true feedback, not rude feedback, but true feedback.
Right.
And so it's, we've been in it a long time now. So we're neither of us have an agenda or trying to outdo the other. We're on the same team, hoping for the same thing. So we trust each other's opinions on things.
And I think the feedback you're talking about is not personal criticism. It's more about the issue at hand and what's the right way to handle the issue at hand. And we can debate, about that. But as we have already established, you both are married, and though NorthRock is a very large church, the staff compared to a lot of organizations isn't massive. What are we at? 20-ish, 20 something?
25. Yeah, around 25.
25 or so. And so, I mean, you guys live in close quarters at work to some degree, although I don't see you mingle too much together at work, except when we have lunch or whatever. Yeah. And then, of course, you live together. You're married, so apparently things are good there. So how do you manage this? Rhonda and I have talked about it. My wife Rhonda and I have talked about it because Rhonda and I are so more close in similarity that we're either killing it like no other couple, or we are killing one another like no other couple. I mean, that's us. I mean, that's us. When we're on a mission together in a line, I'm not sure I've met another couple who can get done what we get done. But Lordy, have we needed some paramedics at the house? So how do you guys do this?
Jennifer just said it a while ago. One of the things is, we're not trying to outdo each other. And so that's a big portion of it. And honestly, and this is again by personality, this is where, but my greatest moments are watching her succeed. So when I see her succeed at something, man, I'm over here jumping up and down like, yes, look at what she's accomplished. But yeah, I mean, there's things you have to look out for. You have to be intentional that it doesn't consume life. And just jumping back on something you just said, when we talk about the criticism of, how could you do that better? We're not talking about it personally. We're talking about the issue or how to best handle it from a leadership perspective. So when we're having even, I don't even know, just, I don't want to say intense conversation because it's really not that, but just, meaningful, hardcore conversation about it. It's not at each other. It's about how can we do this better? And that's a mindset we both have. So that's where that comes from. But, being intentional that when we go home, can we talk about work? Sure. But is that all we talk about? No. One of the things that, Jennifer, you'll add some stuff to this in a moment, but one of the things that happened a few years ago is we got in a fight at home, and we were laying in bed, and I said, get up. And she looks at me like, what? I said, go to the couch. I said, because we're not going to fight in the bedroom about this.
Oh, that's good.
She is looking at me like, what is wrong with you? So we go sit on the couch. I get on one end. She, at this point, obviously gets on the other end of the couch where there wasn't no snuggling going on. And it's in the middle of the night. I mean, I say middle of the night, we're old now. So,
it was bedtime. It was bedtime.
And it was a fight. And finally I stopped. I said, look at me, listen to me. I don't need you to fix me right now. I said, I am not one of your employees. I don't need a solution from you. Quit trying to problem solve what's happening in me. I need you to be my wife, and I need you to listen right now.
That's good.
And that was just such a, unfortunately it was in a moment of, frustration that came out. but it was kind of a benchmark moment for us that changed the course.
Matt, that is so strong. I was doing a workshop the other day where I actually used the example of one marriage partner telling the other marriage partner, "This is what I need. This is what I don't want to explain why I need what I need, but this is what I need." And then I transferred that to the workplace, that also works in the workplace. Right. And after that workshop, I had several people come up to me and say they had never heard that before.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, well, what have they heard? And
right, what have you been hearing?
I mean, how do you survive? At some point, I just want to tell Rhonda, okay, I'm weak. This is what I need. Are you going to step up or not? Right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. What about now, Jen? There's got to be times though where you guys are at home and someone's got to say, look, I've done 60, 70 hours at NorthRock this week. I'm not talking about it. What happens? I mean, how do you?
Yeah. There's definitely those moments. I will say, I can speak for ministry. Matt and I have never worked together in the marketplace, so this may not translate to the marketplace. Jim, you can maybe help, but I do think that it is important that we invite our spouse into every part of our life, including our job. And Matt and I do run in totally different lanes. So you said earlier, like, you don't really see us mingling much, at lunch, or there may be one or two meetings a week that we may both be in. But we're in different lanes. And so when we go home in the evenings and I talk about my day, it's news to him. He's not part of that. He doesn't know. That's not any part. He's all legal, financial, insurance. I don't even know what all he's doing over here, where I am very
stupid stuff, I'm sure.
Stupid, silly stuff. And I am teams and people heavy and systems and structure for teams and multi-site. And so what I'm dealing with is totally different than what he's dealing with. And so we're able to talk about our day and it be news to each other. And I think that there is value in me inviting him in to part of my day or part of my world, and him inviting me into part of his world. Now, I don't want a deep dive. I don't want an hour and a half of what he did that day, but a 10-minute, this is kind of, as he's fixing dinner. Matt's the cook in our family. As he's fixing dinner or whatever, if he's kind of talking through a conversation he had or this or that, like, I enjoy that. That doesn't feel like work. That feels like him letting his spouse into his world. And that feels totally different to me. Now, we don't work when we get home. I mean, we don't. If I need his office, like something to come out of his office, I send an email and request that. And he'll respond back to me through email. And if we mention it at home, it's simply, hey, I sent an email about such and such. You'll see it tomorrow, or this or that. We also are really, really strict about our Sabbath. Jim, I know you and Rhonda are as well. Mm-hmm. Our Sabbath is Friday. We rest on Friday. We don't talk about NorthRock. We don't think about NorthRock. We don't check emails about NorthRock. We don't do work on Friday, and it's totally dedicated to each other. We also have a rule that nothing can go on the calendar on Friday without both of us agreeing to it. And so that way we can just make sure that we are keeping the main thing, which is our relationship with each other, and making sure that NorthRock doesn't overtake us, because the day will come. It's hard to imagine now, but the day will come where NorthRock will be in our rearview mirror, mm-hmm. but we will still be married, mm-hmm. If the Lord allows that. And
us being married or us being alive? Can you clarify that, please? Are you going to allow us to still be married?
I hope.
Hopefully both.
I hope we're still alive. Everybody knew what I meant.
I was just clarifying.
But yes,
I just want to make sure.
no, I don't think that the Lord has any intentions of us divorcing. But our marriage, it's important that our marriage be built on more than just our job. And because we are so consumed with what we do here, we have to be very intentional that our marriage is more than just what we do. I hope that made sense. It did in my head.
It does. An area that I want to compliment very strongly to both of you that I have observed consistently over the years is that whether you are in a large group or whether you're an executive in an executive meeting, one thing that I have noticed is that you listen to one another.
Yeah.
And I saw it again on Tuesday. When one of you were speaking in a meeting, the other one wasn't looking at their laptop, or, I mean, even your body language shifts, and you look at them. You may not even know that you're doing that. Maybe you do know that, but I've noticed that, and I've always been endeared to you as a couple, watching you do that. I don't know what it means, but it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing. I don't know if you guys, go home and have a huddle and say, all right, this is how we act in public. And, I mean,
no, this is just who we are.
When Rhonda and I were first married, we had to do that. We had to say, all right, so when I say something that really, ticks you off, you're not going to say anything. You're just going to, then when we get home, you can slap me around. But when we were young, we kind of had to make rules like that. And hopefully as we get older, the wisdom, kicks in. Yeah. But I've noticed that very consistent about you. Let me ask you a hard question. It's not that we're necessarily going on a campaign for second chair, but I think this topic is super important. And that's why I've asked you to speak on it. Because you have spent all of your ministry years in this position, and so from my vantage point, you are the experts. And when you consider those that are on your team, how do you think they view you? Do they? I'm not talking about the terminology second chair, but do they view you as a second chair? Do they view you as their leader, yet somebody? How do you think they view you in this? Are you a cog in the wheel? I mean, what's your thinking on that?
That's a great question, because a lot of times, and I'll get to the answer, but there are people that deal with that. How am I seen as a second chair leader? And most of the time, it comes out of a place of insecurity when that becomes an issue. And mm-hmm. I know you're not, but in our case, and Jennifer will answer as well, but when our team looks at, I know when they look at me, it's their leader. It's not, it's not just, well, he's just a piece of the puzzle. We'll see what the next guy says if that overrides him. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is our organizational structure. That's one. Secondly is our tenure. As you said, we've been doing this a long time. Mm-hmm. So age, the gray hair that I have and the gray mm-hmm. in my beard helps, with that a little bit.
Jen, how do you like the beard?
Well, I like it. But I did ask him if I was ever going to see his skin again under it, and he insinuated no, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Yeah. So, I think it's here to stay, so I'm learning to love it.
Yeah. Well, Matt, you left off on tenure, gray hair, all that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so I'm embracing that stage of my life. We found out we're going to be grandparents to
congratulations,
little granddaughter here in a few months. But
it's a life changer.
That's what I keep being told. And then the other is the trust from the first chair, and the team knows that. The team senses that, they feel that. There's no competition, and maybe this speaks a little bit to if you're a second chair leader, cut out the competition. You were either you were hired or you were volunteered into your second chair position. Embrace it, do your best. Your gift will make room for yourself. Your abilities will rise to the top. If you're supposed to be in the first seat, you'll get to the first seat. But dear God, cut out the competing with what the big guy's going to say. Who cares? Who cares if it's, in whatever setting it is? If it was his company he started, if he was, voted in by the board as a CEO, if he was promoted to this position, serve that vision, serve what's best for the, the customer base, or in our case, our team and our congregation. You serve what's best to that, and you're going to gain so much trust from that leader that the team will then look at you as a leader that can be listened to, and that is not always in competition trying to, one up the next guy.
Man, let me stop you there. That is really strong. I want to see if I can say it like you said it, but in different words, because I hadn't really thought about it. So as a second chair, on one hand, I want to feel the security to speak freely. However, if I know that how I'm speaking freely is in direct competition to my leader, then I'm going to withhold that and save that. If I feel a strong conviction about it, I'll save that for a one-on-one.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't want to walk around like eggshells. Otherwise, I'm not a leader. If someone asks me, what do you think about this? I, as a second chair, should be able to say, this is what I think about that. And provide confidence. I don't want to say down the line, maybe say those behind me, give them the confidence so that they can, ride in the wave that I'm, or the route, that I'm creating, blocking for them, the hole that I'm opening up for them. Going back to Jennifer's idea about football. Yeah, about football.
Mm-hmm.
You have any thoughts, Jen?
I have, just as I was listening to Matt talk, first of all, it was brilliant, Matt. I really could say nothing about this, and I think you did a great job there. I kept thinking of a word, Jim, that you use very often, and so your listeners will be very familiar with it, but it's alignment. Mm-hmm. And I think if you want to be seen, the question was, do you think our team sees us as a second chair, as a leader, as a cog in the wheel? How do they see us? I think that they see us as a leader, as their leader, because of the alignment from the senior leader to the second chair and all the way down in the organization. And how when we can sense that someone is out of alignment, we quickly move into that and start helping coach and develop to get them in alignment. Yeah. And so I think to be seen as the leader, a leader all the way through the organization without first chair, second chair, anything being attached to the first part of that, just to be being seen as a leader, the leader, alignment is a key piece of that.
That's really good. When we talk about an organization being out of an alignment, or even a marriage being out of alignment, or a friendship or whatever being out of alignment, it's, the analogy that we always use. Now, the cars are much better engineered than they once were, but I remember as a kid, if my front end was out of alignment in my Mustang, I mean, at certain miles per hour, the car would shake to a point to where you could easily lose control. Besides the fact that the tires are wearing down, besides the fact that you're getting horrible gas mileage, besides the fact that the thing is, about to run off the road. And so when we are and sometimes we ourselves find ourselves out of alignment, if we're good-hearted leaders, normally that happens out of mistake or misinformation, or it doesn't usually happen, back to Matt's point, out of competition, because someone who's called in the second chair is not called to compete. They're called to serve and to help align. So even for the three of us, if we find ourselves, I know that from time to time I go, oh, that's not how I thought about that. And so had an opportunity for me to pull myself in alignment, or maybe help assist the group into get in alignment. And sometimes it's both, right? Sometimes it's different. So I think that was a really good answer, and I really appreciate that. And
And
go
in a
ahead.
healthy organization, healthy company, healthy organization, your second tier leaders alignment is so key, because as their direct reports get out of alignment, they know it first,
Yeah.
or even second, 2-3 layers down. They know it first. And here's something else. This happened before here in our organization. I heard a team member out of alignment, not a direct report to me, not not somebody I was having regular meetings with, but I went to them with something that was done and said, and I said, "Hey, I just want to double check on something. I just want to follow up on this." And it was alignment question, and they were, of course, they were quickly to recognize it and say, "Oh no, I didn't mean it that way." And this is, but and then afterwards they come back to me and they said, "Thank you. Thank you for checking up on me."
Yes.
And so that didn't have to follow an org chart, that didn't have to follow, but because as a healthy organization with a healthy second chair leader, if you would, I was able to jump lanes and not correct or not any of those things, but just say, "Hey, what do you mean by that?" Because we want to keep things healthy here in our culture as an organization. And so how do we do that? And to me, that's some of the power when you have the alignment right in those seats of second tier leaders, man, the organization can go so much further, so much faster, and so much healthier.
Yeah, and I'll just tag on a little bit. Jim, I remember when you first came on the team, you kept saying to us as XPs, "Guys, I'm still not in alignment." And I love that. I love that, because I think about it all the time. When something comes up, I'm questioning myself. Am I in alignment? Something actually came up this morning. There was a phrase that we put on a job description for a proposal we're about to send out. And we sent it over to pastor to look at, and he did not like the phrasing title and the top. And he made a statement. "I've tried to stay away from that for 14 years. And I've been here all 14 years. And I was part of the one who put that phrasing in there." And it was just okay. How did I miss that? So it's alignment. Staying in alignment is a constant checkup. It's a constant check-in. It's a constant check-on. And when you kept saying to us, "Guys, I'm still not in alignment. I'm better, but I'm still not. I came from another organization where things were different. There's no way I could have come in this organization completely in alignment." And so if your listeners are sitting and they're new to an organization, you've been there less than a year, you are out of alignment.
Yes, you
It's
are out of alignment.
It's not a bad thing.
Right.
It's not a bad thing. It just is a thing. So your number one job is to work to get in alignment with your leader, so that when your leader's not in the room, you're saying the things that he or she wants said the way he or she wants them said. And that builds trust, which then helps those that are serving, back to our original question, which then helps those that we are leading see us as the leader.
Yeah, at the risk of us saying something that maybe won't be, perfectly aligned with what we're talking about, maybe we could chat a little bit more about this, because I think this is a really important thing. I think that I'll start. I think that when we're dealing with those on our team, and in a lot of cases, younger, and I'm certainly not, going to pick on those that are younger. I was placed in leadership positions way too early, way too young, but God had a reason for that, and I learned a lot, through that process. But we need to be careful not to demonize leaders who want things done a certain way, because some of the father wounds that I see, now that's a terminology I use, which is some kind of a hurt from authority, usually from very personal space, like a father, a mother, a trusted person of blood, so to speak. It comes from that. Sometimes it can come from the marketplace and can scar us. And just because somebody wants something done this way and I would rather do it that way, doesn't mean, setting immorality aside, doesn't mean that we have a evil organization, a evil leader, a bad person. Part of maturity is realizing that, this is not my house. This is not my house. Now, if I want to be a member of this house, this is how this house operates. And the more I become a member of that, the more the house will trust me in what I'm saying, and I might have opportunity to add value to it. And we need to see it as more of a process and not so black and white all the time. Because for those of you listening, if you think that your organization is dysfunctional, okay, welcome to the club. Every organization is dysfunctional, but part of the second chair work is to get us in alignment and to always recognize that that's just part. I mean, what goes through your mind when we talk about this? Because this is a big issue.
Matt, you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go.
Okay. When you said that, Jim, I was thinking about the country club. And to be a member of the country club, you were agreeing to the country club's rules. They have a list of rules, and I'm not a member of the country club, so I don't know what those rules are. But I know that to be a member of the country club, you have to abide by certain rules. And when you join an organization, you are basically saying, I agree to these things. I agree to what the mission is, the vision is, and the I don't want to use the word rules, but the values that get these things accomplished. If it's somewhere along the way, my values don't align with the values of the organization, then it's time for me to turn in my membership to the country club. It's time for me to exit the organization. It's not the country club's fault.
Right.
It's not my leader's fault.
Just go in peace.
Just go in peace. My values don't align with the organization's values anymore, or the leader's values. So it's my responsibility to exit the organization at that point.
Yeah, you reminded me of my high school days. This was the days of the hippies. We still hadn't gave it up, right? So that was the 60s, but we were in those early 70s, so we were still hanging on. And most of my buddies wore super long hair. And when I went to the grocery store to get a job, they said, here's how it works here. The culture out there is not necessarily the culture in here. So I had to cut my hair, keep it above my ears. It couldn't touch the top of my ears, or it couldn't touch the back of my collar. And I had to wear a stinking white shirt with a tie. I had to learn how to tie the tie right. And I had to walk at a certain speed all the time. And there was many ands. But Jensen's grocery store was teaching their culture. I needed a job. So I took it, and you know what? It did nothing but bless me. Now, I choose today not to wear a tie. I still like my hair short, but I just learned so many things. And Jensen's did not want me to leave. They were willing to offer me more and more and more. But there was a trail for me, and I wanted to follow that trail. I just think it's sometimes it's I just want to say to the world, if you're a young leader and you think everything's all jacked up, maybe just take another look at it. Maybe take another look at what it might be like if you join the team in your heart and not just your uniform, and maybe see what happens. Now, we're not talking about participating in evil. We're simply talking about being pliable, are we not?
Yeah.
Right.
That's so good. Yeah. When I think about, and Jennifer says this all the time, go all in. And when I was young, my first couple of jobs, I had a choice to go all in. My very first job, it was a horrible job. It was horrible. It was terrible. I worked for the city in the small town I grew up in, and it was the water and the sewer department. And it was, there was days it was just, it was days, it was a crappy job. And literally, but I learned so much there because I was young. I didn't know any better. I went all in, and I didn't like it. I knew it wouldn't be there my whole life, but it's funny things that, and I don't mean just skills, but with my hands, but thought processes, what not to do, how not to act, how to act. All of that stayed with me. Mm-hmm. Even now, 30 plus years later, here I am still, and I'll lean back to those days. because I wasn't, I was too young to know, oh, I'm going to try to fix y'all and change y'all. But I had an idea that I'm just going to give it all I got, and we're going to see what happens. And I think there's so much power in that alignment piece. I love that.
I got a couple more fun questions, and again, I appreciate you guys taking time with me. But these should be a hoot. So one is a little bit of an overlap, but now I'm just kind of releasing you from the second chair discussion. And how do you think those, and I think you've both have answered this in part, so don't feel like you have to hang on. I'm going to give you both questions now, okay? How do you think those on your team describe you as a leader? And take a shot at it. And at the close of this podcast, I do want to throw out something for all the listeners that I think will all appreciate. The second part of the question, so you remember the first part? Okay. Yes. Second part is, if you were asked, if I asked you, give me one minimum up to 3 key attributes that you frankly require from anyone to join your team, what would they be? In other words, we've been using Jim Collins' words for a long time, but to get on your bus, what's the 1 to 3 things that they just got to have?
I'll go first. How do I think they would describe my leadership? Man, I'm trying to use 1 or 2 words here on that, but I think steady, stable. I think that's it's part of my personality, but it's also there's such a strength in that, especially at a second chair. The joke around here is there's 2 things. If you see Matt freaking out, you better take cover, because something bad is wrong. And because he don't freak out. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, if you see Matt mad, and the joke there is Mad Matt, if you see like somebody's really crossed the line, like they've really, and so I think there's power in that, being steady, being stable.
To your point, Matt, when I walk into the church, even when I occasionally stroll in on a Friday, maybe to grab a Diet Coke or something, because I'm in the neighborhood, I kind of always expect you to be in your office. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, more than anybody else, I just kind of expect to see you there.
Yeah.
And that's a testimony to your steadiness, right?
That's it. I'll have team members, if I leave for a week or something like that, they'll come back and they're like, well, how'd it go? It was okay, but it was just weird. I'm like, wow. Well, you weren't in your office. I'm like, that's weird. If you're that codependent, we got way bigger issues here. And they're like, no, it's just something about it. Just knowing that we could ask you, or just, because it's not like people, they interrupt my office, but they don't camp out in my office. So, that I think that would be, I think stable, steady. The other one for me, or the second question there, is 1 to 3 key attributes to get on the bus for me. Strong work ethic. That's part of my upbringing, my childhood. My father taught me that. My mother taught me that. I believe work ethic is huge. I'm watching for that. And I don't think there's a correct English word for this next one I'm going to try to give you, but it's a figure it outer. Like I want people on my team that will just figure it out. Like, here's the issue. Here's the problem. Hey, we came up with a solution. We figured this out.
We're going to make that a phrase. I'm going to include that in my next book.
Okay.
A figure it outer.
A figure it outer. And that's some attributes. That's what I'm looking for. And again, the list could go on and on, but there's some non-negotiable givens. But those 2, if you want to see close to me, close in my circle, and you want to go somewhere with me, I want to see those 2. That's the 2 things I really, really want to see in a leader that's close to me.
That's good. What are you thinking, Jen?
Oh, I think that question gave me pause, because I am a perfectionist. And so thinking about how other people see my leadership, or how my team sees my leadership, I have to be a little bit vulnerable. I think that they would say, if they were describing my leadership, I think that they would say black and white, that I'm really black and white. I think they also would say that I'm very passionate, because I am.
Yeah.
I am very passionate, and I think that probably comes through regularly. I think they probably would also say I'm detail oriented because of what I do here. It's my job to see the whole picture and all the details of the picture all the time. And so I tend to see all the details. I can see all the things.
Yes.
The second piece of that, which is what do I look for to get on the bus? I look for character. And sometimes that's hard when you don't know someone and you're interviewing someone. So we really like to hire from within. That's how we prefer. So that and I, especially Jim, lately you and I've had lots of conversations about that higher level of leadership, like right under executive level, the director level of leadership. And I think at that level, character is so important. It's always important, but that's something I'm really looking at for that level.
Yeah,
also passion.
Alignment's impossible if they don't have character.
Yeah. Good.
Right.
Passion.
I'm also looking for passion. Like I want to know that they would just about do anything to be on the bus, that they believe in the mission and the vision that much, and they are passionate about the area that we're looking at them for. So yeah, those are two things.
That's great. You guys, you've been awesome. This has been a invigorating conversation, and I think part of, and hopefully the listener has heard it, the familiarity we have with one another, respect we have for one another, love we have for one another. I think the way that I want to end this podcast, and I'm trying to remember, I think I got it from Ryan Hawk's new book that has to do with pursuing excellence. And I've heard this before, but I had forgotten it, and I haven't been using it. And I think that for the three of us, we certainly could use this to improve our serve moving into 2023, and hopefully the listener will appreciate it too. And basically, and I forget the source, other than I forget where Ryan got it from, but it's probably one of his podcasts. And he said the three questions that we need to ask ourselves on a consistent basis is, what do I need to stop doing? What do I need to start doing? And what do I need to continue to do? What I'm doing. And then when I first read those three questions, I was thinking, as an introvert usually does in his own world, asking himself the question. And then as I read on, he said, no, this isn't just for you to answer, but it's for you to ask those around you, those that are in front of you, those that are behind you, and those that are beside you, what you could be doing, in what their answers might be in those three questions. And so I just want you all to know, the listener to know, that I know these two people. I know they're humble in heart. Hopefully I am. And we're always learning, always pushing ourselves to the next level. I just thought those are three great questions that not only we can ask ourselves, but maybe get some others.
Ask our team.
Yeah, ask our team. Right.
Wow.
Well, Matt and Jen, this has been fantastic. Your content has been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim.
You.
This was so fun. I know. Do we have to stop?
Yeah. I don't think a 5-hour podcast would go over too well.
Yeah, probably
Thanks for
not.
the opportunity, man. We love it.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jim. We love you.